God, the pain's been unbearable. It's in my bone. It moves around from my right forearm, my hands, my fingers, to my right arm, to my left forearm, arm, and now it's here. A few days ago, it was up here, right to my neck, and right down around here. Now it's right in here, and in my joints. And then in my hips when I'm sleeping, I have to keep switching sides. It feels like the bones are going to collapse, the joints are going to collapse into each other and just disintegrate. The pain is unbearable in my whole life, even though the pain that I'm having now is nothing compared to the first 2-3 years. This is still what most normal people will never experience. It's chronic, it's nonstop, it's throbbing, it's, oh my God, it's like contractions. Each contraction gets worse and worse, and then it dies down a bit, only a bit, and then it starts getting worse and worse. And then sometimes each contraction, it's light, and then soft, and then strong, and then light, and then and it doesn't stop. It sometimes goes for days. I don't know why I'm experiencing all this. I'm floxed for about 7-8 years now. I had one good year. I was floxed in 2013, and I had one good year in 2016. But the good year is, I wasn't perfect. I'll never be 100%, but I was almost like 80%, and I believed I could be more, but I stopped with the treatments that I found. That was my miracle, basically what saved my life at 7 months out. Was COVID, collagen, and lemon and water. And then a couple of years later, I added vitamin D. And I actually I only took vitamin D for maybe a couple of months, but I did like 10,000 to 50,000, even more, BUs a day. And anyway, I mean, just all these combinations, with each collagen treatment that I did, which was like about 14 over 2 years, and then I stopped. And then I continued to improve. And I was, in that 1 year, I was sleeping 8 hours for the first time in like 3 years, 2-3 years. I was actually sleeping. It took time to get up back to 8 hours. I was sleeping pivotal 1 to 2 minutes intervals for a total of 20 minutes a night for 2 years, up to 2 years. I know it's hard to believe. So that's like severe insomnia. I don't know how I got through it. And then at the same time, I had all this multiple damages, tendon ruptures, my heart, blood pressure, my liver, my kidney. Then I experienced retina detachment, first in one eye, a couple of years out, and then the next eye, just out of the blue. No warning, nothing. But then I did get attacked first thing within 2 hours of the first Cipro pill. My eyes went crisscross, double vision, pain. And then that's the night after the first pill, I went from sleeping 8 hours a day, my whole adult life, 8 hours, to 1 to 2 minutes intervals for a total of 20 minutes a night for almost 2 years, year and a half, 2 years. I mean, I gradually started getting back like 1 hour, 2 hours sleep after a year and a half, though. A year and a half for sure. I didn't sleep less than 1 to 2 minutes intervals for a total of 20 minutes a night. And then in the 1 to 2 minutes intervals, I also experienced horrific nightmares. For the first 4 months, it was just absolutely the same repeated nightmare. And then it became less, but it became even more horrific, psychotic. I mean, check the word psychotic, nightmares. You can't tell if you're awake or asleep. Anyway, then I had everything else, depersonalization, severe brain fog, memory problems, brain damage. I had brain damage. It went through the blood-brain barrier, not only now. And then we just found out in 217, 215 by Joseph King, that it adducts to our DNA. And then in 217, the Hungarian scientists, they were out to see, to research how good Cipro is for cancer. And to their horror, they discovered quite the opposite, that it only takes one FQ, fluoroquinolone, to adduct your DNA within 3.6 minutes, which means it remains in your body forever. It's like you're on antibiotics 24/7 for the rest of your life. We're mutated. We're mutated. And also, one of the Floxies who kind of has a science background and owns a chain of stores, he also started a big research. A whole bunch of Floxies from Canada, then USA, and children were in this research. And the USA government wouldn't have it approved, published, so he has to go outside of the country to get it published, because we already have 2 published scientific research is proving that it adducts your DNA. And in this other one, it also proves that every single cell in our body has been damaged. Whether you had an adverse reaction or not, every single cell in your body has been mutated. And they're trying to get that published. And I think it's happening. So, and this one is a big one, because these are all Floxy victims, all ages. One child was born from a Floxy mother. Another one was floxed as an infant. And then we have, younger people in their 20s, I think, 30s, and up to, 50, 60. So it's quite a big group, and every single one of them showed the same results. 1 FQ adducts to your DNA within 3.6 minutes, and it remains in your body forever. I mean, it's not to say not everybody gets the adverse reactions, but they've still been mutated, but majority do get the adverse reactions, and the ones that do, I would still say that more than half, it's extremely out of this world pain, because the telltale sign for floxing normally is tendon ruptures, tendinitis, and then, of course, countless of others. You really have to join Facebook groups that are educational, and these Facebook groups that are public, for the general public. It's all based on published scientific research, so it's not just hearsay. TV news right across the world, especially from the USA. So very educational. And all this stuff has been recent, from mostly like the good published reports now. And what's happening too is we found a lot of hidden reports going back even to the 80s that were swept under the carpet. They knew a lot of these damages already, but just doctors didn't want to listen to the patients back in the 80s and 90s, and anyway, you really have to research. You don't have to listen to what I say, but it's to imagine that there's so many people like myself. And I was considered in the early stages, 2-3 years, one of the severe cases. I couldn't stand or walk, barely. I couldn't sleep. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, 18 out of 18. Pre-diabetic. I became pre-diabetic. I liver and kidney damage, and now I have fibrosis, and I'm type 2 diabetic. Doctor's been after me for 2 years to get on diabetic pills. severe heart palpitations nonstop, 24/7, 365 days out of the year, nonstop. And even when I was lying down, it's like I was running. My heart rate was not less than 100 for the first few years, even just lying down doing nothing. And I barely did anything. I could barely walk. I could only walk 5-10 minutes at a time, and I couldn't lift my legs. I had to drag them, and it was baby drags, so I was even worse than a 90-year-old. The pain was just unbearable. Diagnosed with fibromyalgia again at 18. Severe brain fog, depersonalization, memory problems, short-term memory. My eyes got worse too. I actually have one of my eyes is affected slightly with night vision, but with two eyes I'm still okay. The retina detachment, partial tendon ruptures in both shoulders and biceps, both biceps, arthritis, osteoporosis, osteopenia. I mean, the list goes on. I can't even, I sustained well over 30 serious damages within days, weeks, months. By 5 months, I couldn't stand or walk, like I was telling you, and that lasted for quite a while. Even before that, I was having problems, but it got worse by 5 months. My sister literally brought me a wheelchair. I had to live with my sister. I couldn't dress. I couldn't prepare food. I couldn't do anything for myself. I couldn't brush my hair, couldn't brush my teeth. I couldn't shower. My sister had to help me change my clothes, and I wouldn't tell her, so sometimes I had to sleep in my clothes days at a time. I just didn't have the heart to tell her because she works full-time in a laboratory, so she's on her feet a lot. And anyway, I lived with her for 3 years, and somehow I managed to get out and get back on my own. And in 2016, I felt like I was really doing well, started my business up, did really well, and then the tables turned again on me. And in 2017, January, I had a slight slip and fall. And the fall that I had, if I was healthy, I would have just got back up and go. And now, from that fall, I still, after 3 years, have bone bruise in my left leg below the knee because of Cipro. I also had muscle swelling, and I still have muscle fatigue. So I can't hold anything for too long. I'm not strong like I used to be. Chronic, and I have degenerative disc disease. So the first 2 months after taking the 9 pills, I lost 2 inches in my height. And then another month or two, so 4th, 5th month, I lost another inch. I lost a total of 3 inches within like 5 months after stopping Cipro. I mean, the list goes on. Anyway, just I haven't been feeling well, and the left side of my head, the numbness has always remained, but it's not completely numb, but there is always numbness in the left side. When I started my Colvita treatment, collagen, at that point, at 7 months out, it was moving into my gums and my teeth and my face, my left side of my face. But once I started the treatment, that subsided, went away, but it remained in my skull. And I was mostly partially paralyzed in the left side of my body by 7 months. But the pain, electrical, lightning, vibrating, Charlie horses galore. I couldn't stretch. I couldn't do anything. I felt like if I was going to fall, that I would shatter like glass into a million pieces. So I've come a long way, and the suffering then, I don't know how I got through it, but I can tell you I can never go through it again. If I ever had Cipro or something that I like I can never have Advil now, or steroid shots, or any kind of medications basically, or especially vaccines, unless it's life-threatening, but I'd probably say no. The only thing that I would take is penicillin, because all those things will bring me back to the way I was at the beginning, maybe worse. So I'm just terrified, because sometimes when I eat the wrong things, I get this kind of radiating pain right into my bone marrow, outward to my muscles, and it doesn't stop. And it's happening again, and it's been going on for a while, especially since 2018. It's increased a bit more. And anyway, just stay away from Cipro, Levaquin, Avalox, fluoxetine. There's many names. These are the brand names from Bayer and Johnson. Then there's generics too from Johnson & Johnson and other pharmaceutical manufacturers. Ciprofloxacin, levofloxacin, moxifloxacin. I mean, there's lots of names. There's eardrops, eye drops. It comes in IV. Actually, I won't get into how much. You really need to do your research in order to protect yourself, because these are common antibiotics. They have been, fluoroquinolones replaced penicillin. In Canada, it's been given out like candy for the last 15 years. In the USA, for like 25 years. But it was in Canada earlier. It's just it wasn't used widely. It was used in hospitals and IV. Like, I suspect my mother in 2002 died 3 weeks in the hospital. She was on IV. And after getting poisoned, I had all the symptoms she had, except I wasn't hooked up to the IV. And she died 3 weeks later, cardiac arrest. They didn't put that down on her death certificate, though. The doctor was stumped. You know, I didn't blame the doctor. Anyway, it's another story, but it's been in Canada a lot longer. It's been LASIK eye surgery, actually. Probably, I would think that that's probably the first entry in Canada. So LASIK's been in Canada for 25 years. So people that have had those kind of eye surgeries, the aftercare protocol is Cipro eye drops. And now we're starting to prove that Cipro eye drops, you know, the FDA is trying to deny that Cipro eye drops doesn't do anything, but we kept crying just from the beginning. Just like how we got all these black boxes finally put on because they couldn't deny it. There was too much research. And now it's happening with the eye drops. We're finally, because we have many people that have just been floxed by eye drops, and severely, and some even drop dead, and some within 24 hours after taking either a pill or an eye drop or whatever, committed suicide. Just like that. They didn't even know themselves what was happening. The drug triggered them to self-destruct. And suicidal ideation is another one. Psychotic episodes, you know. I had some, but some people actually had visual and audio hallucinations. I didn't have that, but I definitely had the anxiety, the severe brain fog. I couldn't sleep. I had a hard time. I had to relearn some words, spelling. I never had to study for spelling in my entire life from very young. I always got perfect or 9 out of 10. And after Cipro, I was forgetting even basic words, how to spell it, and I was forgetting words that I heard. I would just listen and say it's familiar, but I had to relearn everything, and I'm still relearning, but I'm doing a lot better that way. Depersonalization, I'm not the same person anymore. You know, I view the world totally different now. And depersonalization, I mean, some of the thoughts that were coming into my mind and some of the anger and rage, I mean, somehow I sustained myself very well, because my main concern was to protect others and not have them go through what I went through and what all the Foxies are going through. Well, majority, you know. Anyway, stay safe. I don't know what else to say, but and plus I have a cold right now. The last started yesterday, so I'm not feeling so well. So feeling all this body ache that I have, and all this pain from stretching whenever I go to the washroom, or if I have to even stretch a little bit, my legs, my feet, my toes, my fingers, my hands, my arms, any kind of stretching, you know, I get an attack, like Charlie horse, like my ribs are being pulled, like they're gonna crack in half, like somebody's pulling my ribs in. They're in my stomach and they're pulling my ribs in. I don't just get it in my ribs, I get it in my arms, my legs, my back. Anyway, that's it. Sorry. So stay safe and do your research, because what I'm telling you, there's still more to know. And new studies are still coming out, but it doesn't matter. There's hundreds of studies proving it. It's rare that a doctor will connect your illnesses to Cipro. Very rare. And it's rare. It was rare to find research. Now, if you search, you'll find all sorts of research on fluoroquinolones and all the researches that showed severe damage, mitochondria, DNA, retina detachment, audio, psychosis. It's all been there since the 80s, 90s, Y2K, you know, it's all been there. They just hit it, and now there's too many victims, and we've formed all over the world, you know, especially since the internet. Most people started getting computers in their homes from 2007 onward, mostly. So that's really helped us all connect and grow and fight Bayer and Johnson & Johnson and the FDA and Health Canada. I mean, you know, when I say fight, I just mean we do our annual rallies here in Canada. It's peaceful, it's educational. With OHIP and our Canadian government, we're coming in on an angle that it's a financial burden to Canada, basically. And Canada might get involved in a class action, go after and sue Bayer and Johnson & Johnson and recover all the losses. And I'm sure all the insurance companies will follow suit. And it's going to be a big, huge lawsuit against Bayer and Johnson & Johnson. Those two are the main culprits. There are other manufacturers, but that came later, after the patent was lifted. Anyway, okay, it's 23 minutes. So, 2020, wish everyone good health, prosperity, and please educate yourself so that you don't become a next victim of fluoroquinolones. They're still given out, and in Canada they're given out even more now. Even though we have 2 alerts in Canada, like black boxes, the doctors are giving, and the hospitals and the walk-in clinics and are giving it out even more than before. And they've been giving it out like candy the last 15 years. So educate yourself, okay?